Harpen's conscience, already separated from his body, floated through the seemingly empty, endless void. A figure, almost exactly like him, drifted past, coming from the place he was going to. Then Harpen arrived, joining a long line of Elensi, dozens long, all like him, with some minor differences between them, but they were all him. Grey was doing all he could, mixing ointments, using his potions, asking townsfolk for assistance, calling for anyone to help. Dina was running through the nearby streets, searching for a cleric, when she met a lady in all black robes. Dina and the hooded lady returned, for she was a cleric, and they both kneeled beside the crystal body. Grey was becoming desperate, his mind racing for answers, but not meeting any. Then, something clicked. Elensi are elemental creatures, and he was using fire magic in his final fight, pyromancy. A stretch, but that may be enough to give him a spark, a chance at life. Grey pulled a deck of matches from his side satchel, lit one and held it under the left open hand of Harpen's body. The light from the match glistened and shone, refracting through the thick crystal. Then the match snuffed out. The glow in his palms, however, remained. The fire faintly spread, like pulsing veins, towards the centre of his shattered chest. Grey, seeing this, ordered the lady in black to gently start adding fire to the wound in his chest, trying to cauterize it, or just to give power to this unstudied elemental creature. Her spell seemed not to radiate heat, or light even, but on contact with the crystal it burst into a true flame, just to be absorbed by it a second later. The thumping in Marken's head was loud. He took a shuddering breath. Grey did not know this, but Marken was not new to this body. Marken placed one large crystal hand on the ground beside him and pushed himself up, not fully present in the moment. Grey, taken aback by his sudden revival, sank back on his heels, shocked and slightly confused. This man in front of him was not Harpen. Why? He could not quite place it, but something about him was not right. A stubby man, 3 foot tall, 4 at most, waddled his way forward, his large armoured beasts following in his wake. The small gathering around the 3 non-locals split in an instant into 2 larger groups. Haughty with the utmost air of pride, the small man spoke, adjusting his monocle once again. "You are meant to have died, but you lived. Congratulations. Now leave you like your political scum of a friend did." He flicked his old cane at the 3 of them, and the crowd dispersed, not wanting to get involved. 2 of the creatures behind the man lifted their frills and started bearing down on the 3 of them. Together, Dina and Grey helped in lifting Marken to his feet. The 3 of them stumbled out of the nearest gate. There they met Lord Smythe, watching from the edge of the woods. Marken thanked him and straightened up, supporting himself on his own legs. Worried about pursuit, the 4 of them made their way into the woods, silently. The familiar rhythm of their gait unusual, two new voices joining. Marken was not the talking kind, much unlike Harpen, who would tell many a tall tale on the road. At the highest noon, the four stopped, unpacking rations and water skins. Lord Smythe asked Marken how he was feeling, and for a recounting of the day he had been separated for as he started his meal. Marken seemed confused at first, at the mention of the name Harpen. After some more questioning, he seemed not to recollect any of his countless tales, or his travel with his friends. He did have memory of a few glimpses, fights where flames were rampant. The group, confused, packed up their goods and made haste towards the first clearing marked on their path. In the 5 hours that it took them to get there, they talked much with Harpen. He did not give much information, but it was certain that this was not the same man they started their travel with. He seemed more of a military person rather than a merchant, focused, precise, factual, and tactical. He was not to be messed with, but he was also kind. Once you got past his strong guard. The next town, Second Winter, lay nestled in the shallow hills, large red pillars of granite breaking the calm rolling grass. The grass crunched beneath the feet of the travellers, and even the soft earth crumpled beneath the large, heavy feet of Marken. Small snowflakes replaced the spitting rain. The damp clothing on the backs of the group started to stiffen and cool. Two figures hurriedly made their way towards them. A small girl, seemingly flying along the slick, icy road. A large, stockier man, wearing thick full plate, stomped quickly along the sides of the road, sprinting in bursts to try and keep up with the little girl. The little girl skidded to a halt, tripping forwards. She pushed herself up with one hand, clutching a large wicker basket in the other. She smiled, her tongue poking at the gaps in her teeth. She brandished, happily, joyfully, a flourish of thick woolen gloves and socks.
Do you want to buy some socks and gloves, please?
Sure, I will have a pair. Fingerless, if you have any, Smythe said, grinning. She grinned a wide smile back and started rummaging through the basket. Returning a few of the gloves scattered over the layer of snow, the larger man saluted, fingers to cheekbone, as it was traditional in these areas. Sirs, madam, this is the town of Second Winter. Here we have a mayor. Sirs are his area. I always get his name wrong. Zarkazi. Do not interfere with our issues, they are our own, and I think I remember you. You are a politician, so don't try and meddle here. But, of course, you may travel through. This is up to you. You may stay in the inns here, too.
And you can buy socks.
Yes, you may purchase items here. Thank you for your information. Lord Smythe nodded his thanks and asked for the location of the nearest inn. They spent the afternoon watching the ice skaters perform outside the town hall, wandering the frozen streets, and playing cards in the tavern. Lord Smythe played a long, drawn-out, complex game of dragon chess with a small kobold man in a black suit. He turned out to be the town mayor and had married the owner of a local orphanage. The day drew to a close, and the group huddled together in the back of the inn by the large fireplace. A tall Takoi woman walked out of the kitchen and brought their dinner, a nice hot goat stew and large pieces of bread to be dipped in it. The Takoi lady held one large platter, each laden with food, one in each of her 4 hands, and balanced a large kettle of tea between her left wrists. They chatted as they ate, and stayed up much after the bar had been closed. Lord Smythe watched curiously as the owner, who also served as the barman, started locking up the building. He closed the heavy double shutters, diverted the smoke into a series of heat tunnels in the rafters, and then closed and locked the wooden door. Then he pulled an old wrinkled envelope from the back pocket of his leather trousers. He laid this envelope on the ground in front of the door and pushed it under the thick oak door with his foot. Once the barman, Hendricks, had retired to his room, Rambutan Smythe quickly got up and walked to the door. Using his letter-opening knife, he pulled the envelope back. He opened it. It was unsealed, and inside he found a large replicant key, one that matched the inn door. Intrigued, he placed it back in the envelope and slid it carefully back under the door with his foot. "Well, let's get to bed. We will leave tomorrow." Smythe held out a hand to assist Adina up to her feet. She glanced at Gray for a split second and then got up. Smythe lifted an eyebrow, a small smile touching his eyes. Gray, unawares, made his way upstairs and picked a bed. Everyone else followed him. Dina did not sleep much that night. Until halfway through, she noticed something. The creak of a heavy door. Smythe, who had been reading late and was sleeping uneasy since, woke too. The both of them glanced over and arose, making their way towards the hall. Without them noticing, Marken rose and followed. They arrived at the base of the stairs and saw her. Gray, finally awake, sleeping, she was quietly snoring, almost like a cat's purr, clutching at the warm rug she was lying on, the envelope lying open beside her. Smythe bent a knee and softly stroked her forehead, his gentle fingers getting tangled in her messy chestnut hair. Her eyes flickered open.
I don't want to go back, please. I don't.
She opened her eyes wide and clutched at Dina's legs, still holding Smythe's hand to her forehead. Dina, smiling, remembering her own sister, Ellie, wrapped an arm around her and lifted her up. "So, what do? We can't leave her here. She does not like it here, and she is forced to work, and she evidently sleeps here in the tavern, alone." After much discussion, they decided to leave that night with the child. They could not technically adopt her in time. That would take weeks, and they had no such time. They could not break her out or reprimand the orphanage because, well, the town mayor was one of its owners. So they decided to unlawfully adopt her that night. The nameless girl was eager to leave, saying that she had never really enjoyed it here and that she had no friends. The group packed up and left immediately, leaving a note for Hendricks. Finally, sealing the envelope. She has a new family now. We will find a nice home for her in Sitokwa. Do not worry. She insisted that you know that she loved your food. Farewell, kind Hendrix. The group learned to love the girl in the next few days, teaching her how to read and even some basic magic on Markin's request. But most importantly, she received a name that they gave her together, Poppy.